Bobby Broyles along with Rob Washburn for more of CAA Football's 12 Teams in 12-Day series. We have New Hampshire today, Rob, and unfortunately for the Wildcats in 2018, their postseason streak came to an end as they were hit with a rash of injuries early and were never really able to fully recover.
Yeah, finishing 4-7 is certainly not something anyone associated with the New Hampshire football program is used to or happy about. But as you said, injuries at several key positions were just too much for them to overcome. But before we look ahead to 2019, let's take a step back and appreciate what an amazing run the Wildcats had to earn an FCS playoff appearance for 14 straight years while competing in a conference as challenging as the CAA. We both know UNH coach Sean McDonald pretty well, and you can bet the same fire and competitive spirit that guided the Wildcats to postseason play for all those years is burning hotter than ever to get a new playoff streak started in 2019.
Let's start by taking a look at the New Hampshire offense, which has most of its starters back, but several important holes to fill.
Yeah, one of the only benefits of all those injuries that New Hampshire had last season is that numerous players received starting experience, and most of them are back. The Wildcats' strength should be their rushing attack, where explosive sophomore Carlos Washington Jr. topped the 100-yard mark in 3 of the team's final 4 games, and senior Evan Gray is healthy and ready to provide tough yards inside. They will run behind an offensive line that brings back 6 players who started at least one contest a year ago, which should provide a great deal of depth and continuity as the year goes along. Now, at wide receiver, it's impossible to replace one of the school's all-time greats in Neil O'Connor, but the Wildcats get a big boost from their return of Malik Love, who had 70 catches for 733 yards in 2017 before missing most of last year due to injury. The big question mark, though, is at quarterback, where UNH has to replace 3-year starter Trevor Knight. 5 guys head into fall camp battling for the starting job, with returning Tommy Harrion, redshirt freshman Brett Edwards, and 2 freshmen Max Brosmer appearing to be the early favorites. We saw last season how much the Wildcats struggled when Knight was injured, so it's critical that UNH is able to settle on a number 1 guy.
Here is Coach McDonald on the importance of finding a signal caller going into 2019.
We got 5 kids at the quarterback position that have played the college football game. And 3 of them had a pretty good spring, competed. The 4th guy was injured a little bit on and off and did get it. But, we're going to take another 20 practices to figure out who the quarterback is. And I don't care what position that you got to figure out the most. That's the position you got to figure out the most in the CAA. And look at every team. The teams that have been, successful, the teams that won national championships, that had somebody pulling the trigger that made a difference in the program. And I look at last year like a Maine team with the way that team developed with the quarterback play, and their defense was great. Don't get me wrong, but their quarterback play Towson with Tommy Flacco, Delaware with Pat Gill. You go through this whole league and you see that quarterback position's huge. So we got to find a quarterback, and the spring gave us some idea of it. Now we got to go through, like I said, these next 23 practices and figure it out on how to get better. Offensively, I think our running backs will be the key to our program this year. I think we found one at the end of the year last year, Carlos Washington, who had some great games and a great mix with Evan Gray. Evan's been battle tested. He's been nicked up the last couple years with ankles and thighs and stuff like that. He's had an unbelievable spring and summer, so I'm looking forward to see those 2 tandem go. And then we have a young kid, Dylan Lobby, that I think we got to find a way to get him on the field, get him touches like we did Dalton Crossan a couple years ago. So there's where we go. Our offensive line, we got 9 guys back. I think that between injury and between playing last year and being part of all this stuff, we're in a good position because there's some depth there that makes it competitive and gives us an opportunity to be good. And we started falling into it towards the end of last year. Receivers, got to replace Neil O'Connor. But the great thing is we got Malik Love coming back. And Malik is a kid that, had 60 catches one year, 65, and pulled his hamstring and never got healthy from the spring until the beginning of last season and popped it in Colorado. We missed the whole season last year. So we're looking forward to having some big things from him. And then we got to get some work out of Justin Malone Woods, our tight end. Terrific athlete. He's got to become more prominent in our offense and do it. So I think it's going to be a mix of things. But when I'm sitting here a year from now, I hope I'm talking about the success of one of our quarterbacks that took us to where we needed to go.
The defense was the strength of this team last season and bring back a lot of experience led by their leader and CAA preseason all-conference safety, Pop Lacey.
Yeah, New Hampshire's defense was excellent last season, ranking number 1 in the league against the pass and number 2 in total yards allowed. 7 starters are back on that unit, highlighted by a secondary that could be one of the best in FCS. All-CAA safety Pop Lacey tied for the team lead in tackles in 2018, while Evan Horn recorded a team-best 4 interceptions, including 2 that were returned for touchdowns. At cornerback, senior Prince Smith Jr. has made 28 starts over his Wildcats career, while senior Isaiah Perkins has started all 25 contests over the past 2 years. The defensive line got better as last season went along and welcomes back senior end Brian Carter, who tallied 5.5 sacks, as well as tackle Elijah Lewis, who made 34 stops. Now, there will be some new faces at linebacker, with senior Michael Balsamo expected to lead the group.
Here is Coach McDonald on this year's New Hampshire defense.
I know Pop Lacey is going to be one of the leaders of the defense. He's been a leader of the defense since his sophomore year in a lot of different ways, and he's led last year, and he's a big leader in the workouts and everything since the middle of January to where we are right now. As you look at it, I think Evan Horn and him are two best back-end defensive players that combined stopping the run and stopping the pass. You got a corner in Prince Smith, who has been an all-conference player for us, and you got another kid in Isaiah Perkins, who has been steady Eddie for a bunch of years. So those 4 guys start the back part of it to keep us from, being hurt with any X plays and being hurt. I think Pop Bush, a young man from Florida that got to play a little bit last year and now is going to get an opportunity, will be a pretty good football player. And Max Oxidine, I think another freshman's got a chance. So you look at those guys; those are the guys that got a key in the back half. For our up front people, we're young at the defensive tackle position, but I think we're talented. And again, you haven't been able to play because other guys have played. But I think we got a 3-man rotation with Lewis, Bradshaw, and Kavitas, who is a kid that is going to develop, I think, into one of the better defensive tackles in our league. Elijah had a great end of his redshirt freshman year last year, so we're sitting there seeing 3 interior people. Then on the outside, I think we got 3 kids, that are talented. I think Josh Kania is a senior, played a lot of football for us. He's injury-free right now. Brian Carter, he's injury-free right now. And a kid, Gunny Gibson, who we moved from tight end to defensive end, I think will solidify our front people.
Coach McDonald's program looking to start a new streak of postseason appearances as the Wildcats head into 2019. What will be 3 things you will watch out for New Hampshire, Rob?
Yeah, number 1, right off the bat, settle on a quarterback. No matter what level of football you're at, productive quarterback play is critical to having a successful team. Whoever's under center for the Wildcats on September 7th is going to be an experience, but we've seen young quarterbacks have success in the past. One of the all-time greats to play the position in the CAA, Ricky Santos, has returned to his alma mater as the team's offensive coordinator. Having him as a mentor should be a big help for whoever wins the job. Number 2, shut down secondary. The 4 guys slated to start in the secondary for New Hampshire this season have combined to play in 139 career games, which is an incredible amount of experience. The Wildcats led the conference in defending the pass a year ago, and the secondary group will be the leaders of a defense that needs to perform at a high level while the offense finds its rhythm with a new quarterback. And number 3, regain the swagger. There are few programs in FCS football that can match the success that New Hampshire has had over the past 2 decades. They were on the wrong end of some lopsided games in 2018 and were sitting 1-6 late in October. But that team showed some fight in winning 3 of their last 4, including a convincing victory over JMU. Not making the playoffs was a huge motivator in the offseason, and I would expect to see the Wildcats playing with a chip on their shoulder this fall.
New Hampshire kicks off their season on the road at Holy Cross on Saturday, September the 7th at 1 o'clock.
CAA Football also caught up with New Hampshire's Pop Lacey for a one-on-one interview at Media Day. You can check it out now on CAAfootball.com and our social media platforms.
12 teams and 12-day series marches on as we preview Rhode Island on Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow.